It's very easy to feel like you're a failure, especially when you're young and you're like 22 and you haven't become a millionaire. It's very easy to just feel like you failed at life. But I think the anxiety that young people feel nowadays is unique to what is happening right now, and especially for our generation. And it's not being talked about like almost at all, and it really pisses me off. And to preface this, a couple weeks ago, I came across a channel called Loki Martin, and it was called something else at that time, but it was a guy who's like 20, and he says he feels like a failure because he didn't become a successful YouTuber, and he's 20. But he didn't become a successful YouTuber, and his first video was called I felt like I failed at life. And ironically, that video now 2 weeks later has 285K views, I think. And the guy in 2 weeks, like in just 2 weeks, got 21K subscribers, which is the fastest growing channel I believe I've seen on all of YouTube, like ever. If you know another channel that grew faster than this, just let me know in the comments because I truly don't. And I want to talk about that because that guy it has a lot of successful YouTube friends. And so it's kind of natural that he feels like he failed at life if all his friends are successful YouTubers and he's not. But I think it's a general feeling that a lot of young people have to feel like they failed and they have no future. And I think it's because in a lot of ways, to be realistic, we don't necessarily. And it's very hard not to be a doomer about it. But I think it's necessary that we aren't. So, for example, most of us will never own a home. Like, I'm sorry if it's the first time you're hearing about it, but that's true. A lot of private entities like BlackRock, banks, just bought most of the real estates in the US, but also in other countries. And just homes cost obnoxiously, they're just obnoxiously expensive. And, it's the on top of this, the economy is made in a way where we don't need to all work. Like this might sound stupid, and it might sound like something you'd read on like anti-work or whatever that anti-work subreddit is. But it's true. Like we produce enough, and we have enough technology like AI and robotic technology where realistically, if the ultra wealthy, and I'm not talking about people who make like even 70K a year, 100K a year, like if billionaires were taxed enough and multimillionaires were taxed enough to the point where they can just live their lives and have like money, have a ton of money, realistically, we could just have a society that works for us, but we don't. We have a society that doesn't work for us. We have a society where we have less and less work rights, and in the U.S. it's way worse than in a lot of other countries. I live in France, and like at least unions are a big thing here, but the current presidential administration, is trying to get our retirements like completely. They're trying to make our retirements disappear basically, and it's really really bad. And a lot of people are feeling like, okay, so I'm never gonna own a home. I'm never gonna have a job that really pays enough because things cost way too much because companies are getting more and more and more greedy, and inflation is caused by things costing a little bit more, and then every company that's not necessarily impacted by inflation or is impacted by inflation but then it like passes, they're thinking, well, prices did rise, and like people expect prices to stay up, so I guess like we're going to continue to raise them or keep them up. And so like inflation just keeps being artificially like maintained. And so things cost too much. You're not paid enough because the job market is absolutely abysmal, and companies are encouraged to treat you like a slave. And like most of the time, they're not gonna employ you. They're gonna make you work freelance or things where like you don't have as many advantages as you would if you were just employed. You're never gonna own a home. On top of this, you have climate change that's gonna wreck the planet. So even if you were able to own a home, like who knows if the area you are in is livable in 20 years. And so like why? Like I'm asking like why should I work? Like why? No job that I'm applying for right now are like amazing. I have a master in journalism, and I would love to work in journalism, but like the truth of the matter is like the conditions for the job are like abysmal. Like people hate journalists. I probably dislike the state of journalism and hate it more than people who say they hate journalists because it's just so bad. It's medias are owned by billionaires and like TV stations all around the world. Like in France, it's absolutely the case, and it is also in the U.S. They just almost work as propaganda outlets, and good people work in medias, but it's not about the people in that media. It's like when people talk about like ACAB and stuff like this. It's what a lot of people don't understand is that in a bad system, good people can exist in that bad system, but it still is a bad system that encourages people to do bad things. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I know people who work at medias that I absolutely hate, and they're good people and they try to do good work, but it just can't happen, or it can happen. Like good work can be done in bad systems, but it's discouraged, and it's frustrating. Okay, it's frustrating. And so I'm looking for a job. I'm teaching right now. I teach English at a university, and I absolutely love it, but it's not paid nearly enough where I would like seriously consider it right now. Um, and and by not enough, I don't mean like it doesn't pay like 3,000 a month. I mean like it's a ton of work for not like that much money in reality. And I'm looking for a job in SEO in journalism, and it's soul draining. It's actually truly soul draining because you don't get answers because there's so many people who can be taken for that kind of job. And when you get answers and when you get interviews, it's like it's that thing of like companies who say like we're a family, and like I despise that. I despise when companies say that they're a family because no, we're not. I have a sister. I would not ditch my sister if her performance was not like good enough, or if I realized that like if I ditched her from my family I could make more money. Like that's not how a family works. you know it's like there's a devalue, words are losing their value, and it's like it's the corpo speak of like we're a family and stuff, and calling people that they work with, what is it, there's a word for like because now they can't call employees because they like companies take people in like as like freelance, and so they're doing freelance work, and so you can't just say like we treat our collaborators, we love our collaborators like we're a big family. Oh, it's nighttime. This is 1.7.3 mod in Minecraft, so nighttime is very dangerous, so I'm gonna make a home. And so they call people that work in companies collaborators because they can't call them employees, because if you get someone to work freelance, you don't have to pay them as much. You don't, or maybe not pay them as much, but you don't have to give them insurance, things like this. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, but and it's just depressing. Like that's the thing. And I think a lot of young people don't have something that they can really fight for, you know? They don't have a job that they can sacrifice like 2 years of their lives to get because, like they can, because like if they got that job, it would be really amazing. A lot of people know that even if they got their dream job, their labor would be like extracted way too much by a company who doesn't care about them, and they would produce like a ton of value and get paid like nothing, um, because again, the company doesn't care about you, and they'll never own a home, and like climate change will absolutely like make their living hell. And so like, why sacrifice your life for your job and not live and not do stupid shit when like the planet might not be livable in like 20 to 30 years? Like, why would you sacrifice your life for your career when like in 20 years the planet is unlivable and you're like, shit, like what did I do for the last 20 years? Like, I should have enjoyed Earth while it was still a thing. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about like why young people are unwilling to sacrifice their lives for their career. So yeah, I hope this was even a little bit interesting. I have a lot on my mind and a lot to talk about, so subscribe for more, and I'll see you later.